Hello everyone and welcome to the top 16 from the Mississippi Valley Regional Championship. We have 390 players in the Masters Division and now we are down to 16 and we should have an interesting matchup here. We have Zamora versus Kaitlin Young. Two players looking to make a name for themselves with some rogue decks, and it should be exciting at the very least. It might be hard for Zach, who's playing a Zebstrika deck versus Kaitlin's Garbodor, Landorus, Mewtwo, but it should be interesting nonetheless. So let's get right to it. Both these players are going to set up here. Kaitlin will be on the left, Zach will be on the right. I've played against Zach a few times. He always uses really creative decks, and obviously this is no exception. He's playing an Eelektrik deck with Rayquaza EX, but he's playing his Zebstrika as well, the one with Disconnect. You know, it's only got 90 hit points, it does 40 damage, and prevents your opponent from playing item cards. Basically just meant to buy time so that you can set up Rayquaza EX to Dragon Burst and just build enough energy in play. And Kaitlin's going to be using a Garbodor deck. It's meant to lock down abilities with Garbotoxin ability if you get a tool on it, and it shuts off all abilities, and just kind of beat down with Landorus and Mewtwo. It's kind of a counter to the metagame. You know, you're trying to take down those Blastoise decks that rely so much on abilities, and you got to think this will be a good matchup for just because, well, the Blitzel and the Tynamos are both weak to fighting, and Landorus might have a field day. But Zach is a very creative player, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a match out of it. Now Kaitlin, I believe she just aged up into Masters maybe a year or two ago, so it's tough making the adjustment to Masters, but she's obviously doing very well. She's the only, or actually one of two female players left. We don't see women doing well very often in Pokemon. It's just the way it's been. No reason for it, just mainly guys play Pokemon for some reason. So it's nice to see some variety, and it's exactly what we're getting here. We're not getting the same old, Darkrai, Blastoise, whatever. We're gonna have two unique players, two unique decks, and that should make for an exciting game. I guess they're both just setting up, and we're going to wait. See who goes first and all that good stuff. This is the top 16. It'll be 75 minutes, so it should be a full 3 games, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. We just got to wait for the round to start. You can't start the match until the judges say it's time to start. And we're going to see, does Zach get a basic? And nope, he's going to mulligan, and you can see right there's a Zebstrika. So that is exactly what he's playing, and he's not shy about showing that to his opponent because his deck is on his playmat, actually. It's a Zebstrika and a Rayquaza on his playmat. So he doesn't care. He's just, he's proud of his deck. He's saying, I think my deck is good enough where even if you know what I'm playing, I think I'm going to win anyway. We usually see people try to hide what they're playing, you don't want to give them too much information, but Zach is showing it off. He's proud. And it's the Yeti Gaming. He is from this area, St. Louis area, and he just waves to the camera. So he was very excited to be on stream. He is telling me that this is what he was trying to do the whole weekend and get back on stream. So we decided to feature him in this match. And he will mulligan once again. So Kaitlin will start off with 2 extra cards, which is not what Zach wants. If Kaitlin can get, a Landorus going on the first turn, just using Hammerhead. So you see the Fanpy in the background there. If she can get a Hammerhead on the first turn, you gotta think she's gonna be at a huge advantage. Going first is always an advantage, but this is going to be even more of a difference if Kaitlin can go first and attack with Landorus EX before Zach can set up. That's just huge. If Zach gets a turn to have his Pokemon out there and evolve his Tynamo, That's a big difference. And we see a third mulligan from him. So, not going well so far for Zach. He's going to try to draw and set up. Now, I apologize to the people watching live. The internet has been very shaky today. It might not be stable the whole time. You might be cutting in and out. There's nothing we can really do about that. But, just hope that we can weather the storm, that the internet holds up. But it may cut in and out. Nothing we can really do about it. That's just the nature of the internet. Sometimes it just doesn't work. That's just technology. But it looks like Zach finally will get a basic here. But you can see Kaitlin starting off with like a 10-card hand. Zach is mulligan 3 times. And we're going to see who goes first. This is a huge flip, you know, if Zach can go first. And he does. Now this is big. Not only will he be able to, you know, play an N if he has one, and we're going to get started here. Ooh, he started Lone Dynamo, so even better that he went first. That would have been a scary first turn for Zach, facing a Landorus Mewtwo deck. Both of those Pokemon just eat Dynamo for breakfast on turn 1. And Zach has got to be very happy that he went first. He could have just lost before he drew a card, and that is just the difference between going first and second. You can see Zach is debating. He's playing a Juniper, and ooh, he had to discard quite a few supporters. It looks like a Juniper, a Bianca, a Zebstrika, and then he discarded a Switch as well. Kind of an ugly Juniper there. You know, you would hope to get some lightning energy in the discard pile for your Eelektrik, so that you can use the Dynamotor ability. You know, get extra energy into play. And all that good stuff. He's going to have to pass, and that is the first turn. Now, this might seem like a really bad matchup for Zach, but honestly, if he can get a Zebstrika going, it's not as bad as it looks. And even after all those mulligans, Kaitlin just has to play an N right away. And you can see she's not happy with her hand. Just wasn't even able to get an attack off, or even get another basic into play. Just really bad. You never want to see that, you know, just playing a supporter right away, even after you had 10 cards in your hand. So, pretty rough here, and now we'll see if she can draw something better. If she doesn't get another basic, might see her get benched out on the second turn. It looks like she drew a Mewtwo at the very least, and another Trubbish. Now, something I haven't touched on is that this is a Garbodor deck too, which in general is pretty good against the Eelektrik. You know, they depend on the Dynamotor ability being able to shut off, or being able to get extra energy in play. So if you can get your Garbodor out, I mean, that is huge. You got to be careful though against Zebstrika with a disconnect. If it gets captured out there and shuts off items, you cannot play Switch, and Kaitlin does not know what Zebstrika does, so she's going to be in for a surprise here. And she's probably going to read Disconnect for the first time and see that, okay, can't play items when he uses that. That's pretty annoying. So Garbodor has a 3 retreat cost, so if Zach gets it out there, and he's going to get a turn 2 Disconnect, this is actually very powerful. This is going to prevent Kaitlin from doing all sorts of stuff. And even though this looks like a bad matchup for Zach, this is his best case scenario, and all of a sudden it's not so bad for him. He's shutting off all items. That means Kaitlin cannot even play tools down, which means she cannot use the Garbotoxin ability, which Zach's going to be free to use his abilities. Kaitlin cannot attack with anything this turn because she would need to play a Switch to get that Trubbish out of the active spot. So there's nothing she can really do this turn. It's also going to shut off like Ultra Ball and Level Ball, Heavy Ball, anything that could search out the basic Pokemon. So this is just the power of Disconnect. If you can get it off turn 2, you're going to force your opponent to manually draw into everything. Even though it's only 40 damage, it's pretty weak. If you can catch them in a spot like this, as one of the strongest attacks in the game, just because decks are so reliant on those item cards. And you can see that here. Kaitlin is struggling, and she's wondering, I think she may have a Mewtwo in hand. She looks like she's debating whether or not to put it down, and yep, she's going to put it down. She really has no other choice.
I don't think so.
And we're just going to have to see her pass as Zach kind of jumps out to an early lead. Now, the reason this is so strong is, well, there you go, the Rayquaza EX. This Zebstrika is going to buy him lots of time, and yep, he's just going to catch her out that Garbodor. And he does not have any supporters, so that's going to be rough. But he has time on his side. He's just going to give Kaitlin all sorts of fits with just using Disconnect over and over. Basically, your Rayquaza EX is safe on the bench while you're using Disconnect. Your opponent cannot play Catcher, cannot play cards like Crushing Hammer, not that Kaitlin plays it, but just anything that would disrupt the flow of you just attaching your energy every turn to Rayquaza EX gets shut off. You know, you can't play items. And you're starting to see how clever Zach's deck is when it gets set up. You know, it has some initial hurdles to get through. It's very scary to have to worry about Landorus knocking you out turn one, Mewtwo attacking you early on, but if you can kind of survive the first couple turns without any damage done to you, you can see just how strong this deck is. You can see Zach just putting an Emolgadon and using Disconnect. That's, I mean, he cannot keep this up forever. Eventually, Kaitlin's going to be able to do something, and poor Zebstrika only has 90 hit points, so even though this was like a really good start for him, probably best case scenario, it could just easily swing the other way. Kaitlin could just power up a Mewtwo and, knock out Zebstrika. Now she decided to attach a double colorless to the active Garbodor. I guess she was afraid of just, being stuck up there for a while. And she attaches the Fighting. I'm not sure if that was in the same turn. She might have attached last turn to the Garbodor. But yeah, she attaches it there just in case of, I guess, the Lightning Crash, which is the second attack. You discard all your lightning energy, you can do 80 damage to a bench Pokemon. But that might be a wasted attachment, because if he does that, then she's free to play Switch again. And if he disconnects, she's knocked out. So maybe it should have been better off putting energy somewhere else, but we have another disconnect, and here comes Landorus. This is going to be the biggest hurdle for Zach in this match. I mean, he didn't get another lightning on his Rayquaza last turn, or any lightning for that matter. He doesn't have any Eelektриks out, he doesn't have any supporters, and honestly, just Hammerhead will be the death of him. It's going to do 60 to Zebstrika, and then 30 to a Tynamo probably. And even though Kaitlin can't play any items, just doing 60 and 30 is going to be enough. This is why Zebstrika is not the greatest Pokemon in the world. Disconnect is a ridiculous attack, but it has a low damage output, and also Zebstrika only has 90 hit points. So we might just see him get overpowered by Landorus. Also, Landorus resists lightning, so Disconnect will only do 20 damage. You can see Kaitlin trying to decide where she wants to put the 30. I think the decision is between Tynamo and Rayquaza EX. She might want to hit the Rayquaza EX for 30 so that she can Land's Judgment for 150 when it comes up, and she decides to go for that. It might be better just focus down Tynamos, just it's easier to take those prizes, but can't fault her for setting up that play. If she can just take out the Rayquaza, looks like Zach's not going to have anything left, so who knows. We'll see him level ball for another Blitzel, which is an interesting decision. Looks like he really wants to keep up this disconnect lock, but is it going to be worth it? He's only doing 20. Landorus is definitely going to win that battle, and I really don't know what he's trying to do with this anymore. It might be time to shift strategies here. There's nothing he can really catch her up and stick up there anymore. The Landorus, both of them have fighting. He can't really stick those out there. The Trubbish already has damage on it, so you can't disconnect that and stick that there. And, Mewtwo can just attach an X-Ball. He's going to disconnect for a measly 20 damage. And I think we're going to see Kaitlin just kind of steamroll from this point on, unless Zach can top deck something. This is not looking good for him right now. The initial Zebstrika, sure, that did a lot of damage. But that can only take you so far. You need to have the Rayquaza EX behind it, and he just has not had the opportunity to do that. Now, Kaitlin, she's going to check Zach's discard pile. There's no lightning in there, so you can't even use Dynamotor. And okay, the camera has been knocked over. Okay, so hopefully nobody does that from this point on. Thankfully, they set it up in a good position again. I was afraid I was going to have to go over and fix that. Scary moment, but we're all good. That has not happened in a long time. Usually, people don't bump into a giant tripod, but I guess you can. So Kaitlin's gonna just hammerhead for 60 and 30 to the Blitzel. It's a good move, just because it's gonna set up the next Zebstrika to be hit by a hammerhead for 60. It'll get knocked out. And now Zach's just going to promote Emolga. What is he going to do? He can Dynamotor once. He's going to evolve to Zebstrika.
At some point, some of you guys are going to get a little tired, a little cranky.
Looks like he's going to Dynamotor to the Zebstrika and attach, and he might just disconnect again for 20. Just kind of keeping up this item lock. I don't know if this is worth it at this point. He's only doing 20. And he's just going to get knocked out again by Hammerhead. Something else is going to take 30. And I really don't know. It's tough to tell if this is worth it. You might have been better off just kind of powering up your Rayquaza. And I don't know, just kind of sitting back, leave the Emolga up there and pass. But you can see, Zach told me before the match the one thing he did not want to face was Landorus. And you can see why. This is really just putting a hurt on everything. Now he could top deck something and get back in this. If he gets another Eelektrik out and then attaches, he could Dynamotor twice and then attach and Dragon Burst for the knockout. But he's not playing anything, so I do not see that happening. And at this point, Kaitlin's tied the game up. Zach's going to put down the shiny Rayquaza. Could be a good card in this matchup. Shred is a really, really good attack. And he's just going to Dynamotor to the Rayquaza EX. And it looks like he's just going up for a Dragon Burst for 60. It's going to put that Landorus at 100 damage. Not really doing a whole lot, but now Kaitlin, she is free to play her items, and this is the big turn where you've just kind of been holding on to everything, and you can just all of a sudden play whatever you want. The Garbodor comes out with a Rescue Scarf. That's going to shut off Dynamotor. Going to get a giant cape on the Landorus. And really, she could do a whole lot this turn. She has a Switch, and then a double colorless. She gets X-Ball for 120, get the knockout, since that Rayquaza EX already has 60 on it. So she's going to Charon first. She does have a computer search, so she can pull this off. Rescue Scarf goes on the Landorus as well. She decides to attach another Fighting instead of just taking the easy knockout, because she doesn't want to put all of her eggs in one basket with the Mewtwo. And we're probably just going to get another Hammerhead this turn. She can catch her out Dynamo and just hit it, and then maybe hit Eelektrik for 30. She really has control of the game at this point. She's even going to bring out Eelektrik, knowing that Zach has used a couple switches already, and that might just get stuck there. So at this point, Zach is the one locked down. No abilities for him. He's just... Kaitlin's got too much stuff in play. She's going to switch to her other Landorus, the one that has 2 Fighting on it and a giant cape, and just hit for 60. And then she'll hit the Rayquaza again for 30. I guess she's just trying to set that up for the easiest knockout possible.
Please report to the tournament location. It is
Once again, Zach does not draw a supporter. He's actually going to attack or attach to his Emolga. He's going to switch. He does have another switch, so that was fortunate. And I suppose he's going to call for family, but what is he going to take? What can possibly help him at this point? Maybe another Dynamo. I don't know if another Blitzel will help him at all. It's going to be tough to tell. And yep, he's going to take another Blitzel, but I really don't think that'll do anything at this point. It looks like he is just kind of done for in this game. I don't like to call games over with N in the format, but if I'm ever going to call one over, it's probably going to be this one. Just there's Landorus out there, there's Mewtwo with 3 energy on it, there's all sorts of stuff. The Garbodor's out there, there's a 3rd energy on the Landorus now. And this is just not pretty. We do have a computer search. I don't see a supporter in Kaitlin's hand, so she might just go ahead and take one. Either that, she could just take a catcher and knock out both Dynamo and Eelektrik this turn. That would be another play. And yep, that's exactly what she's going to do. She's going to go for the Blitzel instead. I guess she has a plus power in hand, so she could do that. The Blitzel does have 70 hit points. So there we go. There's a plus power. She's going to knock that out. She does not want to be disconnected again. She's tired of that. And then she could just knock out the Eelektrik this turn. I think that's probably the simplest way to go. She'll go down to 2 prizes. All she has to do is knock out the Rayquaza EX. But no, she's hitting the Rayquaza EX again. Interesting move. You might just want to take out Eelektrik in that situation. And oh, Zach gets an N. So, speak of the devil. Who knows? Anything can happen. We could just see a Tool Scrapper. We could see another Eelektrik. All sorts of stuff here. You know, a perfect hand for Zach would be Eelektrik, Tool Scrapper, Lightning Energy. You could Tool Scrapper away the Giant Cape and the Rescue Scarf from the Garbodor. Get 2 Lightning from the discard pile. And then attach from the hand. But that is asking for too much, I think. He draws... Oh, did he draw 5 or 4? I think he has... And I have not been updating the prizes. He should have 5 prizes left. I think he knocked out a Garbodor. That's it. So it's going to be at 5 prizes. I apologize. I should have been updating that the whole time. And he's going to Static Shock for 20, I believe. Kaitlin does have a switch in hand. And Zach did not get anything off of his N, apparently. Not even an energy to attach. So this game's going to be pretty much all but over. We're going to see a Super Rod. I'm just going to shuffle in a couple of Trubbishes. And a Garbodor. I don't really know if she needed to do that. I mean, she's just going to be able to win with the Pokemon she has out there. So you might not want to put extra junk in your deck that you don't want to draw anymore. But it probably won't end up mattering at all. There is a switch. She's going to go to the Landorus. Now if she has a plus power, she can Land's Judgment for enough damage to knock it out, but the Emolga actually resists fighting, so she's only going to be able to do 60. So she can either Hammerhead for 10 and then 10 somewhere else, or 30 somewhere else, or hit for 60. She decides to Hammerhead. Probably just hit Rayquaza EX for 30 again. You know, you've done 120 damage to it at this point. Might as well get 30 more on it, and pretty much put the game on lock. It's just going to take 2 more Hammerheads or just a catcher and then knocking out both of those things at once. So at this point, you might want, if you're Zach, you might just want to scoop and save time. Unless you play like Max Potion, that's the only way you can really survive anymore. And even then, this is an uphill battle. There's just no real way you're going to win this game anymore. He might just be playing it out as long as possible to try to get information about his opponent's deck. That's something you can do in the first game if you're losing. So you never really know what you're up against. We do see a Skyla. I don't think there's a trainer in his deck that can save him at this point. But we'll see. There's just too much energy in play for Kaitlin. You know, she could Land's Judgment, she could X-Ball, or even Hammerhead. But he's going to grab a catcher. He's going to, you know, maybe try to buy some time, catch out the Garbodor, hope that Kaitlin doesn't have any switches left or something like that. That is a viable strategy against Garbodor decks, but I don't think it's going to work out for him here. He's going to catch out Garbodor anyway. I guess he's going to go ahead and knock it out with Rayquaza using Dragon Pulse for 40. Let's discard the top two, but I guess he gets the Garbodor out of play. But it's too little too late, I think. And there is a Dragon Pulse. He's going to take the knockout. And he will be down to 4 prizes now. And Kaitlin, I mean, if she has a catcher, the game's over. Even if she doesn't, it's over in 2 turns. She's going to play an N. Puts down another Trubbish as well. And yeah, I mean, it's just Hammerhead can knock out Rayquaza EX. Just take 2 prizes. And then Hammerhead can knock out Eelektrik. If she gets a catcher, she can knock out both in this turn. We'll see what she draws off these 3. No catcher. But I really don't think it'll matter. Alright, so let's see what Kaitlin decides to knock out this turn. You might just go for the Rayquaza EX to go down to 1 prize. It opens you up for an N to 1, but at this point you have so much stuff in play that it really doesn't matter. And yep, that's exactly what she's going to do. Is there anything Zach can do here? He's going to play an Energy Search. He's already played 3 switches as well, so he would need the 4th one. Plus, yikes, I don't even know. He would need a Juniper and 7 perfect cards to get a knockout this turn. I did see a Max Potion in his deck, so that is in there. Like I said, I don't really think it'll matter anymore. Oh, there's the Max Potion. So you might play multiples, and here's a Juniper. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. But it's going to take a really strange one to pull this one off. I do not think he got what he wanted. Got an Eelektrik out, and a Level Ball. So he can get 3 Eelektriks out this turn if there's another one in there, but looks like his other one is prized, and he's going to scoop them up. And Kaitlin Young will take the first game here in the top 16 of Mississippi Valley Regionals. Best 2 out of 3 series. It will be 75 minutes, so we'll have plenty of time. But Kaitlin will take the first game in pretty convincing fashion. You know, Zach really got as good of a start as he wanted. You know, he dodged a turn 1 Hammerhead. He got his stuff out really quickly, but it ended up not mattering. He just couldn't get a Rayquaza EX, couldn't get his Eelektriks out in time. And I don't know, this seems like a very bad matchup for Zach. You would like to see Zebstrika deck show what it can do, but Landorus is pretty good. Now we're going to get set up here. If you're Zach, you're going to be a little disappointed with that first game. You felt like you had an opportunity to win with the turn 2 disconnect. and then you just never got a supporter the rest of the game. I really do think if Zach's going to win, he's going to have to draw exceptionally well. He's going to have to get a good start. Got to hope that Kaitlin really doesn't get anything out. It can happen. I'm just saying it's pretty unlikely. This seems like his worst matchup possible, if we're going to be honest. But who knows? Zach's a clever player. Maybe he'll pull something off. Kaitlin played the first game really well. You know, I mean, it doesn't take much. All you have to do is hammerhead a lot, but that's exactly what you need to do. She did it. That's all there is to it. Nope. Garbodor shuts off. Dynamotor. I mean, this is just a perfect matchup. I don't even think Zach plays Tool Scrapper, which is going to be the worst part of this. So he won't even be able to get rid of those tools at any point. Won't be able to use his abilities once a Garbodor comes out. Really, his only way of dealing with it is to disconnect before a tool comes down. And then maybe catch out Garbodor and disconnect it to death. And then when it gets knocked out, he can get a turn of abilities. That would be the only real way he could pull this off. So we're going to set up here. Zach will be able to go first since he lost the first game. He gets to choose who goes first in the second one. I hope for his sake he will choose to go first, since you get to do everything going first. No drawback. And we're going to shuffle up and get ready to go. So both these players are going to draw 7. See if Zach mulligans again. He did 3 times in the first game, but nope. Just going to start. It looked like a shiny Rayquaza, but we'll see. And I think Kaitlin starts with a Trubbish again. Well, I mean, obviously we'll find out in a second, but yep, a Rayquaza versus Trubbish. This is interesting. I'm not really sure if this is good or bad for Zach, but I know that's bad. Again, second game in a row. Turn 1, Junipers does not discard a Lightning and discards a bunch of useful cards. That is ugly. We'll see if he can, get anything out of it this time around. At least he didn't have to discard a ton of supporters this time. That's kind of what bit him in the last game. He just ran out of supporters. But we could see he had to discard like a Super Rod, just all sorts of stuff. And it was not pretty. He's going to play a level ball here. We might see him get a Blitzel, and he does. He really wants that turn 2 disconnect. This is crucial to the deck strategy. He devotes a lot of spots to the Zebstrika line in his deck. It might be as heavy as a 3-3 line. And, the cut's got to come from somewhere, and that means you won't be able to play cards like Tool Scrapper. He might be a little light on supporters. Who knows? So he's going to Dragon Pulse for 40. He's really just kind of trying to be aggressive this game. If you can power up the Rayquaza as soon as possible, Shred is actually a very good attack. You can knock out EXs in 2 hits. And, it's actually pretty good against Landorus. It does 90. Hammerhead only does 30. So until the Landorus gets 3 energy on it, you really cannot deal with the Rayquaza very well. But Kaitlin, she's going to catch out the Blitzel right away. She does not want that thing coming out again. She's going to Skyla for a switch. And this will be the one thing that Zach did not want to see. A turn 1 Hammerhead. And also that Trubbish has a giant cape on it. So she just wanted to get that down before disconnect was possible. So that when she evolves into Garbodor, she can shut off Dynamotor. No plus power, so the Blitzel will live. It does have 70 hit points, so 60, and then she's going to do 30 somewhere. Best bet is probably a time event, and she chooses that correctly. What does Zach have? It's a Sky Arrow Bridge, but if I remember correctly, that Blitzel has 2 retreat. It's either 1 or 2. I don't know if he'll be able to retreat for free. I guess I'll find out. But he's going to computer search, discarding a lightning and a sky arrow. You know, if he could pull off a shred this turn, that would be such a big turn. He just needs an electric, a fire energy, and then I believe he'll need a switch. I'm not positive on what the retreat cost is on Blitzel, but if it's 1, then he can just retreat. And here comes the Juniper, so it's all riding on this. This can change the game completely. And he's pointing to a card, I'm not sure why. I see a fire. Does he get the electric? He can also get a Zebstrika to retreat for free. But the difference between hitting this and not is gigantic. So there's a level ball. See if he has all the pieces of the puzzle. If he can shred this turn for 90, then he'll be able to knock out the Landorus next turn before he can get a second energy on it. Or before if it gets a second energy on it before he starts attacking, then Kaitlin can just attach a third one and use Land's Judgment and knock it out. So it's a big difference between attacking this turn and attacking next turn. Since Kaitlin can only attach once per turn. Now, Zach does get a Zebstrika out here and an Eelektrik, and I think he's got a fire. Maybe not, though. Oh, he's actually going to Dynamotor to Zebstrika and attach another Lightning, and he's going to switch. Okay, that's a different route. He's going to go for Catcher on the Trubbish, and he's taking that out. He does not want to see that in play. And he's going to be able to disconnect. Now this will prevent any catchers. He's going to take the Trubbish out. He's going to take the first prize. That was a really strong play. Kaitlin will use an end here, though. So both players are going to shuffle in. Kaitlin will draw 6. Zach will draw 5. Now what this is going to do is prevent, well, the biggest item it's going to prevent is Pokemon Catcher. Otherwise, Kaitlin would be able to catcher out Eelektrik and then Hammerhead, knocking out both that and Zebstrika. But now she's just going to have to attack the active. Just hit that for the knockout. And Zach will still be able to use Shred next turn if he can draw a Fire Energy, because he'll be able to set up the Dynamo to retreat for free. And then he can just Dynamotor to Rayquaza, Shred for 90, and he'll put himself in a pretty decent spot there.
This is your last call to register for the tournament. Also, both video game and PC players all day today, make sure.
Alright, so Kaitlin's just going to look through Zach's discard pile. She's definitely going to Hammerhead this turn. It's going to knock out the Zebstrika, so there will be Lightning in the discard no matter what. Where does she do 30? She's actually going to go for the Rayquaza instead of the Eelektrik. This could set up, a play with a plus power and Land's Judgment, so that she doesn't have to discard all of her fighting energy. We see another Blitzel come down, another Dynamo. What will Zach do this turn, though? He has put himself in actually a pretty good position, probably the best he could hope for. Considering the matchup, he's given himself a shot. He's going to Skyla here for an energy search to grab a fire, so we will see a Shred this turn. We'll be able to get an extra energy and play with Dynamotor onto the bench Rayquaza.
Seniors, round 3 pairings have been posted.
Here we go. I don't know if he has anything beyond this. He just has the Skyla. He's going to need to get some more Eelektriks in place soon. There is the Dynamotor. Now, something interesting is that Kaitlin actually plays Giant Cape instead of Eviolite. So, Eviolite is useless against Shred, but Giant Cape gives you the 20 hit points to survive 2 hits from Shred. So that is something else that could come out if she has a Giant Cape. I assume she'll just try to go for the knockout this turn. If she has a plus power, she'll go for the knockout. It looks like she does have one. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on Zach. She will not be forced to discard all of her fighting energy, and Judgment will do 90. You always have the option to discard and do 150 instead. But obviously you don't want to discard those energy if you don't have to. Just realized I forgot to update the prizes. I gotta get used to this still. But now she's gonna take her second prize of the game, go down to 4. And really Zach He's got to respond this turn. If he does not respond with something this turn, he's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. Now there's Rayquaza EX. All he needs is a fire and a second electric in play. And he can pull off a Dragon Burst for a knockout, leaving Kaitlin with 0 energy in play. That's going to be big. But all he's got is an N. So that is not good. I assume the Blitzel has a 1 retreat. I don't know why I thought it had a 2 retreat cost, but it has a 1 retreat. Obviously, Zach promotes it. Otherwise, he would have just promoted a Dynamo, which for sure has free retreat. He's not going to evolve both this turn. So the Sky Arrow Bridge out there, he'll will a free retreat. Zach's going to draw 5 cards. He's going to need a Fire and an Electric this turn. Does he pull it off? He can knock out this Landorus EX with all the energy on it. And there's the Electric. What else does he have? There's the Fire. Okay, so Zach's going to be in this still. The only problem for him is that the Trubbish on the bench already has a tool. So if Kaitlin can get a Garbodor out, which looks like she has a heavy ball, so she will be able to. Zach's going to have to discard his energy this turn with Dragon Burst. And then his abilities will be shut off. So he will not be able to really do anything from that. You see another Super Rod, so Zach does play 2. It's really nice. We've seen Electric decks start to play 2 Super Rods in their deck just because how easy it is to use your Dynamos early on in the game. And you really do need about 3 in play to be effective. And also just situations where, a Super Rod gets discarded. We saw Zach had to discard a Super Rod with a Juniper turn 1. Sometimes you have to discard it with like Dragon Pulse, Rayquaza, all sorts of stuff. There we go. Zach's going to take the lead for the time being. Kaitlin does get an EXP share, so she gets a fighting on the Trubbish. She evolves into Garbodor. It does not look like she really has anything else, but she's going to be able to Heavy Ball this turn for a Landorus. So she has a switch. She top decked the Garbodor, which is actually really big. But I think she made a small mistake there. She could have just retreated the Trubbish first and then evolved into Garbodor, so you don't have to waste the switch. But now she's vulnerable to a catcher to stall for time. But I think she may have a catcher in hand. I'm just debating whether or not she wants to play it, or whatever the last card is. I don't know what it is. Otherwise, she's just going to Hammerhead for 30 and probably hit Electric for 30. And okay, yeah. Catcher, probably the right play here. Take another prize. Set up a Dynamo. Just this Landorus hitting with Hammerhead is threatening. Alright, so she's going to hit the Rayquaza EX for 30. Take her third prize. She's going to be at a 1-card hand. Now, if Zach can get a catcher off this turn, he's going to chair in for 3 and draws 3 supporters. That's probably not what he was looking for. Puts down Emolga, a Lightning onto Blitzel, and he really needs a catcher this turn. Evolves to Zebstrika. That's pretty big. I'll make sure that his Blitzel really can't get knocked down. He's just going to retreat to Emolga and pass. That's a good play. It does resist fighting, and Kaitlin draws a Charon, so she's going to draw 3, and one of those cards is a switch. Next turn, you got to think Zach's going to go for the catcher and disconnect on Garbodor. The game really is in reach for him at this point. He can catcher up Garbodor, disconnected a few times, and I mean, if he can power up Rayquaza and just Dragon Burst for the last prizes, the game is definitely in reach. It could honestly come down to whether or not Kaitlin draws a double colorless to retreat her Garbodor. out here. We have an Ultra Ball. Let's see what Zach decides to grab here. Maybe just another Eelektrik, get another one into play. But man, this is going to be extremely close, and it's all really going to come down to whether or not Kaitlin can retreat the Garbodor. Well, first of all, Zach's got to get a catcher, and I guess he needs an energy to disconnect too, but assuming that happens, it's all going to come down to that. But right now, Zach's abilities are shut off because of Garbodor. He cannot use his Dynamotor. He is limited to one attachment per turn. There is 30 on the Zebstrika already. Kaitlin did a very good job putting 30 on the Zebstrika, making sure that it can be knocked out by a Hammerhead. And oh, we have an N from Zach, so I don't know, he's going to have to get a little lucky with a catcher and a lightning this turn. Otherwise, he could just kind of leave Emolga active. That's another option. He really needs to attach energy, though, this turn. That is number one. If he cannot attach energy, it's not going to be pretty. He's going to draw 3. He gets a lightning. Does he get a catcher as well? I don't think so. I think he would have played it if he got it. And yep, he's just going to attach to his Rayquaza. He's going to pass. So Kaitlin dodged a big one there. What will she do next? She can play items. She was not disconnected. She also had the DCE in hand, so she has that in case Garbodor does get catchered out. So I think we're going to see Kaitlin take this game now. And I mean, that was a big misturn for Zach. She could just Land's Judgment for 60, take the knockout on the Emolga. She'll go down to 2 prizes. And from there, I mean, what can Zach really do? She's actually going to Hammerhead instead, just for 10 damage. 30 to the Rayquaza, putting that at 60. See a Skyla from Zach. See what he grabs. I'm not sure how many catchers he has left or anything like that. If he had a Tool Scrapper, this would be a game ender. But you can see he's taking a Juniper. He certainly does not play Tool Scrapper. You can just see if he had 1 right here, this game would be completely different. He would be able to just Dynamotor twice, Dragon Burst for the knockout, and the game would really just be over. But with Garbodor out there, with Tool on it, no abilities, no nothing. All he can do is Skyla for a Juniper and pass. He's going to attach to his Rayquaza EX again, so he is just crossing his fingers, hoping that Kaitlin does not have a catcher. Because if she does, she can catch her out the Rayquaza EX. Land's Judgment, knock it out, and this game is over. If she doesn't, though, this is still going to go on. I mean, does she have the catcher or not? Does not look like it. I'm not sure if she has a supporter or anything like that. Here we go. What is she going to play? She's going to put a DCE somewhere. Looks like it's going on to Garbodor. It's an interesting choice. You might want to... Oh, and she has an N. All right. So this is it. She's going for the catcher. If she draws it, you got to think she's going to win this one. This is coming down to the wire here. Got to give credit to Zach for making a game out of this. This is a really ugly matchup for him. Yeah, he's gonna have to get lucky here to win this one, but he certainly could. And no catcher off the 3 cards. It's an N, a Super Rod, and a Rescue Scarf. Not what Kaitlin wanted to see. She probably has a lot of catchers left. She was disconnected for a while. With a Super Rod, so Landorus and 2 Fighting are gonna go back in. I guess this turn she could just, I don't know, she could either Land's Judgment, knock out the Emolga, or Hammerhead again for 10. see which one she decides to do this time around. Last turn, she decided to Hammerhead. Doing 30 to the Rayquaza EX would put it up to, let's see, 90 damage. I don't think that's a significant number. It doesn't really set up a Mewtwo for an X-Ball or anything like that. But honestly, Zach, he might not have enough energy left in his deck to even pull off a win at this point. He just... you rely so much on Dynamotor with the Eelektrik deck, you aim to get all your lightning in the discard pile. You might end up just losing when you don't have energy to play from your hand anymore. So really, if Zach has a catcher, he would go for Garbodor, I think. He would have to go down to 2 prizes, sacrifice his Rayquaza EX just to give himself the ability to Dynamotor. Otherwise, he might just run out of energy. This is getting very complicated. And Kaitlin is deciding what to do as well. She wants the Hammerhead or Land's Judgment. And it looks like once again she's going to go for the Hammerhead. Now this is going to be good against the play if Zach gets a catcher this turn. But he gets the Lightning. He's just going right for it. He is taking down this Landorus. Going to go down to 1 prize. And Kaitlin will get the Landorus back with the Rescue Scarf. But geez, does she have anything to attack with anymore? Does she have any energy in her hand? And the next card was a catcher. That has got to be painful to see. She catches out the Zebstrika. Not sure why she's doing that. Does have free retreat. I guess she's just trying to get a fighting and Hammerhead it for 30 this turn. Maybe going for the Eelektrik there would be better. You're going to end Zach down to 1. But we'll see. It's honestly going to depend on what Kaitlin can draw at this point. Even if she's forced to retreat this Garbodor, that can be ugly. Let's see. She gets an energy retrieval, so she's going to get a fighting. She's going to knock out the Zebstrika this game. Or this turn. Sorry, it's a long weekend. Alright, so it looks like she'll have to retreat, and that can open up a play where Zach can stall for time, bring it up. Garbodor. Man, we might just see this come down to Celestial Roar. That looks like the situation we're in. We're going to see Hammerhead. It's probably going to hit Rayquaza EX again. Can't see it going anywhere else at this point. That'll put it up to 120 damage. And honestly, Kaitlin does have a Juniper in her hand. So her options are open at this point. She could draw all sorts of stuff. There's nothing Zach can really do next turn to get the win, as Kaitlin will go down to 2 prizes. Unless he decides he has a Tool Scrapper all of a sudden. That would be a way to win. But it's all coming down to this. What is Zach going to do this turn? He really cannot sit back, I don't think. I don't know, this is tough. I mean, nothing you do is going to be good in this situation. He can, you could just see how many lightning are in his discard. I think there's at least 7 lightning in there. It looks like he has a Juniper. Oh boy. He's discarding a Fire. Interesting choice. I think he probably should have attached that Fire just to give himself a second energy for Celestial Roar, or for the Dragon Burst. That way he could catch out the Garbodor for the last prize with discarding 2 Fire and 1 Lightning. I think that was a mistake on Zach's part. He's going to level ball, take a look through his deck, and he scoops, and his last catcher is prize. He does not have enough energy, so Kaitlin Young will take this top 16 match 2-0. And she will advance to the top 8 with Garbodor. We are seeing some crazy decks do well at this event. Well played by Kaitlin. She did everything pretty much right. She hit a good matchup. That's just what Garbodor is all about. It's all about your matchups. You hit the good ones, you're going to roll. You hit your rough ones, it's going to be a rough day. But congratulations to her. You know, she's going to advance, and we'll see how far she can go. Garbodor is tough. Landorus and Mewtwo obviously are very good. So thank you guys for watching the top 16. I'm Pooka. We'll be back for the top 8 shortly. And stay tuned. We'll see who does well as the tournament goes on.